All right, this lesson is going to be working on the Sai. We're going to be doing some of the fundamental moves with the Sai to give you some of the basics to work on your own, whether you are an intermediate student or an advanced student. Either way, you want to have good Sai basics to develop your skill and to be able to use when you start working on the katas as well. So let's talk about the Sai in the two positions. When it's against your arm, that's called the closed position. Your thumb is under one of the prongs. Your index finger is on the handle, and the other fingers wrap around the top of the other prong. So there's really only one part of your hand, just your thumb, that's under the prong there. Index finger along the shaft of the handle, and then the other fingers helping to hold the Sai this way. This is the closed position, and the Sai is against the arm, underneath the forearm, and with some pressure from your index finger, you're pressing into it. We don't want that Sai to be floating around underneath the arm, but pressed in so it has some support against the arm. Other hand, of course, the same thing. Thumb underneath, fingers there, good. Sometimes for beginners, I suggest that they practice their Sai handling while they're sitting on the ground, because it is easy to lose control of the weapon, and if it falls, well, if you're sitting, it's not falling as far as if you're standing. Also, you gotta watch those toes if it falls when you're standing. So anyway, be careful as you're doing this. Sitting is a good place to practice. So from our closed position, we can do blocking. If your hand is up over your head, that would be a head block. You can see that the long shaft of the Sai is over the top of the head. A side block goes this way. It has the Sai on the outside of the arm and blocking there, because the Sai was usually used as a defensive weapon against a bow or against a sword. So it needed to be in the correct position. The down block is a circling or hooking motion, which puts the Sai on the outside of the arm. And in this case, it's not directly against the forearm. It tends to be used more as a defense against a thrust. And it's a forward circle similar to a scoop block that you might use in sparring or self-defense. So it's a scooping out with the Sai, and it stops right at the edge of the body. Don't do any of your blocks too far. Keep them close to the edge of your body, whether it's a side block, down block, or head block. All right, the head block is important also, and you should practice both hands to make sure that you have it on an angle. You can see that my hand is directly over my head, but the shaft of the Sai would be where a strike would hit, and by being on an angle, that strike would be more likely to slide off. You don't want to make a flat roof for a weapon to strike, and then you're dealing with all the force of it coming directly down. Your arm might collapse, it might come down and hit your head, but by putting it on an angle, now you've got more of a slanted position for the strike to come off the side. In order to do that, the hand has to come further over the head to the side than a regular head block would be. A regular head block, we might be like this. That's deflecting against a punch coming on the side or defending against that. But for a directly overhead strike, we want our hand to be further over to the side this way. Not here so much, but further over, so that this prong is not necessarily where the strike's going to hit. It's more going to hit on the shaft if a strike is coming directly over your head. So that head block position is very important. Now, another movement with the Sai, another position with the Sai is what we call an open position. That's when the Sai is being held this way. So the thumb is on the shaft of the Sai, right where the prongs and the longer shaft meet. So it's behind there, so it's in a position where a strike coming in from another weapon is not going to get hit by the thumb. If you put it up too far or you put it on the side, well, a strike coming in could easily hit the thumb. So we want to keep it back and out of the way and safe. And that position also gives us an opportunity to push with it and to use it for some leverage, to use it for some strength behind the move. So that thumb position is very important. The other fingers are holding the sai, and the thumb is on top of that center piece. Now, the open position can be used for thrusting strikes. It can be used for blocking sideways, a strike coming in sideways. You can come across and block with it very easily. Head block or head level block, side block, lower block. All of those could be ways that you're using the open sai for blocking. Another one with both sai is called the X block. Of course, crossing the arms this way, crossing the sai, so that the angle is pointing forward. Don't go directly over your head. That's not the best way to block. Your body is actually still open. A strike could still come in and get you, but reaching it forward is a better way to do that block. And they're crossed in such a way that if they do come together from the force of a staff or a sword coming down on you, they're going to lock in. They're going to lock against each other. So the prongs are this way, so they connect. If you turn them sideways, well, they might slide past each other. That's dangerous. But if they're in this position, they'll come in and they'll lock against each other if needed. So this would be the block, but that's the safety in case the strike is a little stronger than you expected, and this didn't stop it by itself. So the open position could be for striking also, a sideways hit. The sai originally had a sharp tip, and each of the prongs was very sharp. But they're not a bladed weapon. It's not like a sword or a knife that has a blade along it. The side of the sai was used for hitting, more like a club. So it would be for a sideways hit to strike the opponent or to block, but it's not for cutting. It's not a cutting weapon. But of course, the sharp tips could certainly be piercing strikes if used that way. Now, the opening and the closing of the sai is something to learn. When you're in the open position, and this is the best way to practice it, and if you're doing it with me, you can follow along. From the open position with your sai pointed in front, I want you to move your thumb to the outside part of the sai. If you're using the sai in your right hand, move it to the right side of the shaft of the sai. Now, bend it in so it's pinching it. It's holding it down like this. And then bend the front of the sai towards you. Just twist your wrist. And as it comes towards you, open your hand, and then it'll flip right in. Let's do that again. So from the open position, thumb, turn it towards you, and now keep that pinch between your thumb and the sai and your fingers is how you control it as you open up your fingers, and the sai then comes right around into your palm. So you've caught it right there. Now you're in that closed position. So this is a forward or inward closing of the sai. Thumb, flip it in. You can also do it sideways. If your sai was in front, or have your sai sideways this way, put your thumb in position and now flip it in a sideways action. Both of those are acceptable ways of bringing the sai from the open position to the closed position. Now, how do you go from the other movement first? From a closed position to an open position. Here's what you do. Pinch the sai with your thumb here on the prong that it is it's holding initially. Once you pinch it, the sai will stay in place, but now bring your fingers around the handle, and then as you close your fingers, you get back to that open position again. So do you see what I did here? Pinch, open the fingers, get them around, and there. Now, you can use some momentum by just spinning it as you do that opening, and then closing it, thumb, and spin it on the way back. Spin it out, spin it back. This is where people sometimes will drop their sai when they're starting to learn how to use it, but if you're sitting down, you're not going to be dropping it too far. Of course, try these motions with both hands. Get used to opening and closing the sai. You can do it in an open upward motion, middle motion like a side block, lower motion like a down block. So you'll get used to that quick snapping open of the sai and then retracting it back to the closed position with some practice. So those are some sai basics. When we get into your classes, you'll probably be doing some strikes and blocks with the sais and combinations, but at least practice using the sai with that good opening and closing technique and knowing that your thumb is in the correct position and that you're holding the sai properly and you have it in the right positions for your blocks. All right, keep up the good work with the sai.